but he knows that if he loses this army, it's game over. Because of how much damage I'm doing down here. So, still hasn't killed the expansion. Mutalisk, just like I said, coming in, taking out those free tanks. I don't want to trade mutas for the tanks exactly, but I do need to make sure that I whittle them down. It's going to make my ground units so much more effective. So he started shelling my base, and I'm still shutting down all production here. I actually killed the orbital because he didn't lift it. We're both sustaining heavy damage, but because I've lowered the tank count and his spread he still had to be spread. As you can see, his giant attack that came is getting whittled down, and the bulk of my army went over here. So now you can see the supply differences have changed drastically. I've lost only one base. I have lost a lot of drones, but he's lost a lot of SCVs as well. I've shut down a lot of his production, and yeah, trading one base for one base is pretty good when you have this much money. You still have a good number of hatcheries, because I'm going to be able to resaturate really quickly. I wish I had killed this tank. I wasn't paying attention down there, obviously. I was trying to get my, make sure I save this hatchery. You can tell, looking at our money, I've got a lot of money left over, him not so much, and he's on a max of 2 mining bases right now. And I also am only on 2 mining bases, which is why our incomes are so similar. The difference is, I have a 3rd base up and ready to get saturated, and I have a lot of money, so I'm going to be able to double or even triple expand at this point. Just being annoying, getting my units as far in there as possible, because this one Zergling, if he doesn't clean that up, is going to be able to do quite a bit of damage. I did make some units first, just to make sure if any kind of counter push came, because I wasn't sure what was over here, that I would be okay. But as you can see, this one hero Zergling still just beasting. Took out a turret and might even get this refinery. I'll check back on him later. So as you can see, because I have all those hatcheries, tons of drones getting made, double expanding. You might be wondering, oh, he went down. Why am I taking all these extra bases? And the reason is because even though I'm not going to be able to mine off all of them simultaneously, you only need 3 bases. Having extra bases gives you a place to run your drones away to continue mining when he goes for a medevac drop. So I didn't think he would have very much because I killed so many production facilities, and boy was I surprised to see that. So I gave up a lot of Zerglings there, but my creep spread has been reestablished. I'm feeling good. I even threw this base up over here. Obviously couldn't utilize it just because it was stuck behind his planetary fortress. And I am going for I guess the Death Ball equivalent for Zerg, which is Mass, Broodlord, Infestor, Corruptor. Corruptors do very well against battle cruisers. Infestors with the new fungal growth buff do amazingly well against Marines, and Broodlords are so good against Thors, tanks, Hellions, anything on the ground basically. So you can get a really good number of like 15 Infestors, 15 Broodlords, 15 Corruptors. There's basically no amount of Vikings he can get because fungal growth will take them down so fast in combination with the Corruptors. And that many Broodlords produces so many Broodlings that he'll be hard pressed to get any Thors close enough. Marines, you can easily stop them with fungal growth. And if you really get your energy saved up, I would suggest getting Neuroparasite. So here he goes for that drop. I should have known it was coming because the hatchery was so weak. But as you can see, my income drops temporarily, immediately transferring over to this extra base. And that's exactly why you want that, because now my income's going to go right back to where it was.
Mineral field depleted.
This base is semi-saturated. Still mining. I'm actually mining off 4 bases right now, which is why my income is actually ahead of his. And he is going to take down this base, which was a pretty good trade for me. Even though I am losing 300 minerals, it would have been quite annoying for that drop to get in here when I'm not prepared. So obviously this part of my army not very mobile. Just gonna leave that over here, and I actually brought back my Mutalisk and my couple Corruptors, hoping that he would come over right away and I would be able to kill those medevacs. So the only thing about this army is you really need to be careful with it. If you lose it, it takes a really long time to remake. The Infestors are really valuable when they have a lot of energy, and it obviously takes them quite a while to get maxed out. So Another good thing to do is to grab Burrow, which I sometimes don't do, just because it really helps to increase their survivability. So I was just focusing on my economy. Here he comes with those medevacs, and I was lazy. I definitely should have brought these Zerglings over here, because this one medevac is gonna be able to unload some Marines. I was pretty lucky for him that it didn't get finished off, but I do have that Greater Spire going. Since this is my final composition, I do plan on really focusing on those upgrades. I think I might even start getting a second Spire to really go for the 3-3 air, just because combined with Infestors, it is so hard to stop.
Mutation complete.
At this point, I'm not really concerned about him attacking, which is why I haven't poked. I know his army is mainly consisting of Marines and tanks, and I currently have 4 Broodlords and 4 more spawning, I guess. So I was just waiting for my Infestors to get their energy, and here he comes. As you can see, a lot of tanks, which is not going to do anything when... well, I've got a decent number of roaches. I just didn't really care about them. I was ready to throw them away once I got my income nice and high. So, double expanding again, once again. If he does manage to push me off my bases, I have a place to run, and I'm gonna pay attention to these Vikings. I can just move the Corruptors in there, and even though my Corruptors are heavily outnumbered, it does take Vikings a while to finish these Broodlords, so I can just down some Infested Terrans. Tanks are all getting destroyed, which is gonna make these roaches so much more valuable, because even though Marines do destroy roaches, they don't do a good job when there's Infestors right behind them waiting to fungal growth. As you can see, I was trying, but anyways, just gonna pull back. Definitely that trade was in my favor. He lost a lot of units, and at this point I don't really know what he's gonna attempt to remax with, but Infestor Broodlord covers basically everything on the ground. Infestors are so good against Vikings, and if you do get Neuroparasite, which I still don't think I was, you can even make good use against them, against battlecruisers, sorry. So I did get a bit lazy with my creep spread here, just because at this point I wanted to focus on my macro. As you can see, I am moving out with these roaches. My army consists mainly of air, and since siege tanks are not going to be as important a part of this game, because this is basically all they can hit, I wasn't too concerned about my creep spread. It's really only going to buff the speed of my Infestors, and Broodlords just move so slow already. So just getting a little force out here. I wanted to really focus on my money, throwing down those spines, because the immobility of this army is going to leave me weak and open to drops. So I'm just building my army, staying maxed, and as I build more, I'm just going to start throwing away these lesser units. You can see he's making a lot of Vikings. As you can see, not microing. I could have done a bit more damage if I had ran around, maybe attack that. He did go for a drop here to counter, and I was really slow to react. I was already thinking of just leaving it alone, but still haven't pulled back my units. At this point I was kind of thinking I have my good endgame composition, so I don't think he'll be able to stop it anyways, but then I realized he's going to kill my Greater Spire. I should have been going back a while ago, so getting those units in there, it's going to be really close. As you can see, I've already starting a Spire. That's, I guess, another reason to start a second Spire. Not only for upgrades, but it'll get you that Greater Spire nice and quick. So, definitely going to slow me down, but not at the moment, just because I have 10 Broodlords. Let's check the units. I have 10 Broodlords, 10 Corruptors, 10 Infestors. And these Zerglings are basically just to slow down drops, to push back his army, and just a buffer for my Infestors so they don't get auto-targeted by anything on the ground. So I took the gold intentionally, knowing that he can just shell it from here, just because, again, this is where I've actually got more drones than here. And Broodlords from this angle are going to do amazing, because the Vikings have to stay away from the Marines. So as you can see, getting all those Vikings with fungal growth. He can't target fire my Broodlords fast enough. Corruptor's doing insane damage to these Vikings, and I've got tons and tons of money saved up. Thor's tanks, as you can see, all of this doing basically nothing. Looking at the unit tab, I haven't lost a single Broodlord. I lost 1 Infestor and 3 Corruptors, and a bunch of Zerglings. So that is incredibly cost efficient. The main problem lies in the fact that it is quite hard to get to this composition when they're doing medevac drops and all over the place. We're different from Protoss because we can't just fast tech and incorporate 1 Broodlord at a time, whereas they can most definitely go straight for Colossus and add 1 Colossus, continue to expand, and use that to bolster their army. 1 Broodlord really doesn't do too much. 2, 3, you really need to start getting into a decent number. And they actually move slower than Colossus, even over cliffs, obviously, because Colossus can walk. So I'm seeing he's still making Marines, and I'm thinking these Marines are not going to do anything. As soon as he runs up, I'm just going to splash them with Fungal. So even getting the Vikings in there, my money is just nuts at this point. And I should have laid down 1 more Fungal. There it goes. And this is the ultimate tech switch because I had so much money saved, going for Mass Ultralisk to back this up. If by some miracle he does manage to kill this, he obviously wasn't too happy with that. I mean, this is similar to the style of push that Terran does, except they do it with just Marines, tanks, medevacs, which is obviously a lot easier to accomplish. Either that or he's onto something and every Zerg just needs to rush for Mass Broodlord Infestor Corruptor as if it's easy to get. At this point, I'm pretty sure the game's over. He's killed half the army, and I've already remaxed on a completely different unit. So, that's the end of the game. Remember to always GG your games, and if you lose, cry about imbalance.